our topic is uh, gentle cosmic-ness. And I can tell you right off first, Tom is certainly a gentleman, a gentle spirit, you know, and so who better to end the month talking about gentle cosmic-ness, because it really is about gentle on a cosmic level. Um, it's interesting because to me, it really, and you heard Tom praying using that word wholeness. I think of cosmic. I think of all of existence, the whole of existence. I mean, um, cosmic is beyond anything I can comprehend. you know, as far as our telescopes go, looking into the galaxies and it, I mean, the end of one galaxy and the beginning of another. That's certainly cosmic, and we know that it goes even further in all directions. So I'm like, wow, how does that relate to being gentle? And so of course, we're operating on this planet, so we're going to deal with life on this planet, being fully alive on this planet. I can't even begin to fathom what life looks like on some other planet, even in this galaxy, because we think we know all about the galaxy. But I'd like to think that gentleness is an energy. That's just how it kind of feels for me. Um, our approach is that gentleness is loving and supportive. And the whole question is, how do we look at the world around us, but the world that we can't even not in touch with, and the future of humanity with gentleness? Of course, we start right where we are with ourselves, right? Like, I have to be gentle with myself. Well, I don't have to be, but it sure helps. That's part of it. I'm choosing heaven. I'm choosing gentleness. It's a choice. How many people choose other than gentle? How many people are harsh on themselves, or hard on themselves, or beat themselves up for whatever reason? You don't need. I mean, there's no good reason to not be gentle or to beat oneself up, or anybody else for that matter. Uh, so yeah, um, that's how we're starting off. How do we look at the world? Like, for me, sometimes I get behind the wheel. I have to ramp up that gentleness gene. Because somebody cuts me off, it's like gentleness just flew out the window.
Our reactions sometimes happen very quickly. I know we always talk about choice and that we get to choose what we think and how we react and everything. But boy, sometimes, particularly when we're driving, the reactions come really, really fast. But you raised a couple of interesting points there too. One of the first things I always do when I look at the recommended topic, like gentle cosmicness, and I thought, how many of us really have ever looked up the word cosmic? What does that mean, cosmicness? And so I looked it up in the dictionary, and it says it's universal. It means universal. And I thought, well, now isn't that interesting? Because we use the word universe all the time. How about the universe is always for us, never against us? And we use the universe interchangeably with the word God or spirit or whatever, however you refer to God. And I thought, now, isn't that really interesting when we look at the universe that way? Because we don't know how big the universe is. And that's part of this cosmicness. And so a lot of times when I pray, I remind myself that this God, I refer to God quite often as spirit. This spirit is eternal, which means it was before everything and will be after everything. It's infinite, which means it has no beginning, it has no end. And it's immanent, meaning that it dwells within its creation. It's creating everything out of the substance of itself. And it's also transcendent. It's everywhere beyond its creation. And so as I looked at this title and I thought, gentle cosmic-ness, you know, I can't describe God because any opportunity I take trying to describe what God is only serves to put a limit on God. And you can't put a limit on something that has no limits. But I thought, gee whiz, this suddenly occurred to me that we're talking about this cosmicness and we're talking about the universe being gentle. Now, we don't see that every day. Like you said, we get on the road, we're driving, and it doesn't look very gentle when somebody cuts me off in traffic. but, but I remember the truth of us is who we are. I am created by God out of the very substance of itself, which means that spirit is living in me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true for everyone. It's true for everything. It's true for our entire cosmos, our entire universe. What is that saying? It says that God is gentle. There is no vengeful God. There's no God out here going, well, I'm going to punish you because you didn't act right today or whatever. It says that this is a very gentle God, and he or it has created a universe out of that gentleness.
Mm.
What a comforting thought.
Well, here's a great quote. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely, Tom, and thank you so much for that, especially uh, the way that you spoke about the Creator, about God, about the all being. Oh my gosh, most times people think it's something to be feared, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or they spend their time worshiping it instead of allowing for it to just be what it is, and in through and as us individually as well. And so yeah, uh, I'd like to believe that God, or even Mother Nature, all of it is gentle, even though we might apply human concepts to the works of the divine, to the works of God, to the works of the Creator, to the works of Mother Nature. It looks harsh sometimes. Oh, it looks like mean, and animals are eating another animal, and this is just nature, but then we want to apply our human thoughts on it, and uh, unfortunately, and then say, well, that's not nice, or it doesn't look gentle, but it's a part of nature itself. Here's a quote. I want to get into this quote. It says, there is something about you and me that is cosmic, universal, that strengthens over time and space. Let us learn to think better of ourselves. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind and Spirit, that's from Science of Mind magazine, July 2001. It's like page 11. Yeah, so that really speaks to what you just mentioned, Tom. Cosmic is universal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is the belief that there's more than one universe. So it doesn't matter which universe. It's encompassing all of existence. No matter they say it's a biverse and a diverse and multiverse, doesn't matter. It's still all one, and it's all cosmic on that. Uh, I use the word level, but level just means all of existence on that higher level of understanding and awareness. And that's really where we get to come from in dealing with our gentleness. Sometimes we I speak for myself, sometimes I feel like, oh, I need to step up, from wherever I found myself. Like, oh, maybe I wasn't being gentle with myself. And what do? I have to take pause just for a moment and step up in my awareness. A place that I've been before, a higher consciousness. And I realized for some reason I fell out of that for whatever reason. And maybe I was beating myself up for not washing the dishes and leaving them in the sink overnight, Yeah, which I've done. Because then when I want to cook, I got to clean the dishes first, you know. It's even little things like that. Um, I'm like, well, let me just be gentle with myself, you know, and take the high ground, take the high consciousness, take the high awareness, the higher awareness. But yeah, there's um there's a quote that reminds me of. Um, mm, oh yeah, this one. It says life begins at the end of your comfort zone. Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God. Um, yeah, sometimes like my comfort zone was not washing the dishes the night before. It was like, let me just sit here and be comfortable and end up going to sleep, you know? And but in the morning, I became fully awake and aware that you know what? I I was just too comfortable, didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve. And we can apply that kind of so-called reasoning to a lot of areas in our lives. Like, well, okay, I didn't accomplish something. I was comfortable. I didn't feel like being bothered, stretching myself, being more aware. And I allowed myself to kind of sink a little lower in my mindfulness. You know, I mean, if I had just said to myself, you know what, I'm just going to relax. Um, maybe I'm just too tired to wash the dishes and clean the sink and the stove, you know, and just have a realization of that within myself. But ignoring that and not being gentle, you know, with myself and beating myself up, I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, it's not the end of the world, you know, or my world. I can understand. I can forgive myself, you know. I can begin to live, you know, like you said, live fully, you know, be fully alive and not hang stuff on me, you know, and be harsh with myself about something that's already happened, you know, which is the main thing. Um, it's so interesting how we can get caught up with things that have already happened, like the news, you know, or, you know, if we see an accident on the street, it's like, how can I contribute gentleness in where everything starts in my own mind, right?
Well, I think you make an excellent point there. Um, it's sort of like when we go for a ride on the airplane and they're going through their safety spiel at the very beginning, and they talk about the oxygen mask. And it says if you have a young person traveling with you, a child or somebody that needs help, you put the mask on them first, then on yourself, or is it the other way around? You put the mask on yourself first, and then on them. And the same thing holds true here. You know, if God is this gentleness to begin with that we're created out of, Spirit's going to be gentle with us. Should not we be gentle with ourselves? And if I learn to be gentle with myself, then I can more easily be gentle with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
That person who cuts me off in traffic, and realize they may be having a bad day. They're in a big hurry. They're running late. Whatever their thing is, I have the opportunity to forgive myself if I begin to get upset and anxious about them, and remember that I can forgive me too. One of the beauties, and I again going back to this idea of looking up definitions, I looked at this idea of what does it mean to be gentle? What is the definition of being gentle? We use the term all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but it says, it's having and showing a mild, kind, or tender temperament or character. That's significant because a temperament refers to your nature, who you are, especially how it affects your behavior. And now we look at character. And the character is really who we are. We talk about authenticity, but it's when we look inside ourselves our character is a pretty complex arrangement of mental and moral and ethical traits that we adhere to. So we are choosing all those things. There's a saying about character that your character is who you are when nobody can see you. It's how you act, how you think, how you speak when no one's there to observe. So I don't get to be seen by somebody else and how I'm acting. And I sure don't get to be seen by anybody else with how I speak to myself. And if I can't love myself and I can't demonstrate forgiveness to myself when I act out to somebody else, how am I going to meaningfully forgive anyone else? It has to start with ourselves. That's exactly what Reverend Rod's talking about. We move to that higher place where we love ourselves, we forgive ourselves, we're gentle with ourselves. Then we can be gentle with others.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Tom. And it's always been important, of course, now more than ever, it seems, because it seems as though humanity is not learning from any of its lessons. That we still have war. People are not being gentle with themselves or with others. Um, I think just to sit and plan to do harm to another is not being gentle with
No,
oneself, because nothing has happened. Like you said, what's your character? Is your character sitting there thinking about harming someone? You know, and nobody has to be around for that. So we're essentially treating ourselves that way, because we're the only ones that's operating in our brain. Okay, so nobody else has experienced what's going on in our brain except us. So what is that feeling that's coming up? So it's really important, and we have to remember who we are individually and spiritually. Talking about character, who we were before we learned how not to be, and end up being it. How we learn how to hurt and to hate, and that in part of our talk is talking about how life is bigger than the news, by the trends, by the forecast, the stuff that's going on in the world, so to speak. How does that affect our character? How does that affect our relationship to the world? I remember early on in this teaching in class, in foundations class, and we were learning how to pray, how to do spiritual mind treatment. And part of our exercise was looking at the news and then making a treatment based on what we encountered in the news. And it's like, wow, whatever I heard, how do I react or respond? And first and foremost, we learn like, hey, it's all God, and therefore, it's all. Let me allow myself to have my thoughts reflect on wholeness and oneness and love, and come from that place rather than be affected by something from the outside, have it twist me around, and then have to come and realize the truth. I can start by realizing the truth. I think that's the way that we get to practice being gentle, is start from the truth that God is all there is. God is love and peace and harmony. And that's the truth. And most of the time we have to return to it. And there are people who work hard at not doing that, maintaining, unfortunately, I would say it's a false character. I mean, who they think they have to be to, perpetrate, ungentleness for whatever fair reason, because it has to be fear that allows somebody to not be gentle. I remember I was scared to let people see my gentle side. I felt it was a weakness. I would be taken advantage of. And then I learned how gentleness is a power, because it incorporates love and peace and harmony and joy. It incorporates the attributes and, all of what God is. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think you talk about looking out at the and seeing what's going on in the world. And we know that whatever we focus our mind on is there's going to be more of. So you don't want to focus your mind on that. But the question becomes, how do you find solutions? And I thought one thing I remember reading a while back, a good while back, as you can tell from my white hair, uh, but I remember reading about a practice Ernest Holmes, the founder of our faith tradition, had. But he would take a walk every day for his health. And he made it a practice, whether he knew the people or not, that every house he passed as he walked in his neighborhood, he said a blessing for the people that lived in that house. And I look at that and I'm going, oh. And he says, well, it worked because this couple was on the verge of divorce and they somehow overcame their differences and stayed together. And he talked about some of the demonstrations of just blessing people as he walked.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, now, wouldn't that be nice if we could do that?
Yeah.
To the things going on in the world. They don't have to be houses we're walking by on the street, but we can do a blessing for the people in Gaza on both sides, the Palestinians and the Israelis. We could do blessings for the people in the Ukraine, both the Ukrainians and the Russians that are there. And all the different turmoil in the world, the turmoil of our own election campaign, we can do blessings for everybody involved.
Yes, absolutely.
And
That's
we can
great.
hold that truth of gentleness for every one of them.
Yes. And we certainly want to involve our attendees, those who are joined in. We have Akiko. Hey, Akiko. Love you much as well. And we have Angela, Tina Fista, and Aziza. Feel free to add some comments. We have questions. How do you practice being gentle with yourself or others? Or any of these questions. How do you act or respond to current experience of the world around you? I know some people would rather just hide, and I don't hear anything, I don't see anything, What about our watchers, our folks who are riding along with us? Lita Perez says, "How can we pray and affirm greater and or better for us all?" And this is for any of us who are watching and those maybe even watching the recording later. You can still type in. So yeah, feel free to type in anything. We have a quote that says, "I think love is the only security there is in the universe. There is nothing worthwhile without it. We must have love, and for everybody." That's by Ernest Holmes, Ideas of Power, page 188. Does anybody want to share what any of that means for you? This is a great conversation. And so, yeah, love is the power. I think I saw maybe Aziza put that up a while ago. Is that you? Let's see. Who did that? Yes, he says, love is the remedy.
Yes.
I said he, forgive me. Aziza Malik says, love is the remedy. And even Lita says, I choose love. It's important that we pay attention, because I think we all know that intrinsically. And it seems like sometimes the invisible is much more difficult to trust than the physical or the visible. And I must make something happen, and trust in the power of prayer. Trust in, and even Angela Hill says prayer. These are the things that make the difference: love and prayer. Also, Angela says works. Yeah, by good works. Does that mean service? Is that right? Yeah. So there's so much going on. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's pouring in. Prayer definitely works. The oxygen mask. Angela agrees with you on that. Yeah. Mm. Silence has power. That's very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's important that we use whatever tools that are available to us. And, different days could mean different tools that we can employ to bless the world. I remember we were taught when passing a car accident not to just gape and wonder the worst, just go immediately into prayer, immediately
Yes.
into knowing, um, that all is well, in the realm of the divine, in the realm of God, praying for, everyone involved, to be at their highest and their best, to come out of that situation, in total in wholeness. I don't know what that physical outcome there, but we know on a deeper level or a higher level, the truth, that God is all there is and is in every situation, and everything that shows up is going to turn out for their greater good. So, there's another quote that I saw that I would love to share. Albert Einstein said, "We can't solve our problems with the same thinking we use to create them." And I know that when I find myself in a situation and I try to resolve it with that same thinking that got me into that situation in the first place, it's not going to work out. That's why we have practitioners. That's why we have ministers. That's why we have spiritual teaching and classes and workshops, so we can learn, we can be educated, which is even more powerful, with how to solve issues using the spiritual methods and tools available. Because if we use spiritual tools and methods in the first place, we wouldn't have problems. so, you know, so I think it's important for us to look at that.
Well, the point of being educated is it helps change you. And it changes the way you think, it changes the way you speak, it changes the way you act. And as we become more educated and we learn more about the presence of spirit dwelling within each one of us and wishing to act forward in the world as each one of us, we realize that it's not just enough to have a consciousness of gentleness. It takes some action to go with it. And as we go about the world, there are so many people that don't have anyone acting gentle with them. And we can go and just be kind to somebody and affect their day with just a very kind and gentle action, a kind and gentle word. Maybe somebody just needs a piece of encouragement. And you go, gee, my day is brighter because you're part of my life today.
Mm. Yeah. How about this quote? This backs you up. Why don't you read that, Tom?
Yeah, from Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 and 25. Let us consider how to provoke one another to love and good deeds, not neglecting to meet together, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Oh, I love that idea of encouraging each other.
Yes.
I remember one time after a service, as I was just starting to take classes, really embracing this teaching of science of mind, uh, a couple of young ladies came up to me as in the gathering, and they said the talk that day had been, what is your gift? What is the gift you bring to the world? And they asked me, they said, what is the gift you bring to the world? And I thought about it and I said, I want to be a Barnabas. And they said, "Oh, what?" And I said, in the teachings of Paul when he was in prison, he said, "Hey," wrote a letter to his folks, and he said, "Hey, bring me a warm cloak and things like that," and said, "Bring Barnabas with you, for he is the son of encouragement." And St. Paul in prison needed to be encouraged a bit, and he wanted somebody to come and encourage him. And I thought, gee, we can always use encouragement. So that's what I feel called to do, is encourage others. You have this beautiful center here, this wonderful service, and we're talking about how to live with gentleness. And every one of us has the ability, because we can encourage somebody.
That's so true. And his Confucianism, the strength of a nation is derived from the integrity of its homes. Confucius. And so much of what you mentioned, I mean, even Ernest Holmes blessing homes in his walk. I mean, as our homes, our environment comes together, first from the individual, and then our household, and then our neighbors, and it spreads, and it gains strength in that way from the gentleness of love and patience and understanding and generosity.
Yes.
You know, all of that is going to come from being gentle. I mean, I never had a gentle spanking as a kid, you know. I never had gentle punishment, you know. You know, something just popped into my head. What can I say? But yeah, the gentleness, you know, that spreads. I think it spreads much easier than angst and hate and hurt. You know, it's like open doors for gentleness. Gentleness opens doors. You know, it's that
Yes.
warm feeling. It's inviting. Like the quote previously, it said, "Let us provoke one another to love." You know, it's like that's a very gentle approach and good deeds. And that's what it's about. And I think it follows up. There's another quote right after that from people of the First Nation, Native Americans, that speaks to that same thing, where you know, here it is. It says, "I see a time of 7 generations when all of the colors of mankind will gather under the sacred tree of life, and the whole earth will become one circle again." That's by Crazy Horse, and a wonderful, powerful leader, well-respected leader. Um, and it's like, yeah, we have to see this. We have to hold the vision of this. Yeah, we have to be able to believe it enough to make a statement like this and uphold a statement like that. You know, every home, you know, we get to gather together, and wherever we are, you know, neighborhoods gather together. You have you know, it happens when with street fairs and block parties, you know, people come together. And the more we do that in the name of love, in the name of peace and harmony and joy, and forgiveness, all of that, you know, then yeah, we'll become one circle again. You know, I think it reminds me of having different circles, and they start to intersect. And as they intersect, they meld and become one larger circle, and larger circles mixed with other larger circles. You know, and that's the vision of that's coming to me of seeing gathering together under the sacred tree of life. Yeah, I just love that quote. It gives us something to look forward to in a positive
It
way.
does.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. It can't just be about us individually. It's got to be our community, and our community is everyone. You know, not even having separate communities. It may start off that way. Um, yeah, yeah. Here's a quote, Tom. You want to grab that one?
Sure. It says, "Cease inwardly from thought and word. Look upward into the light and outward into the vast cosmic consciousness. Be with the brightness and the vastness. Then will truth dawn on you and flow in you from all around you. And that's by Sri Aurobindo, who was an Indian yogi and poet. And he was a great influence on Ernest Holmes towards the end of his life. He adopted a lot of Aurobindo's comments and quotes and teachings. And I think it's really important as you look on this, the more you send out, this goes back to it happens to you as you believe. The more you send out into the world, the more it returns to you. It's called the law of circulation, and even Jesus taught about it in the New Testament. He says, whatever you send out into the world is going to come back to you, magnified and multiplied. Maybe not from the same source. So if I'm going to send out something, I'm going to send out what I want to get back. So I'm going to send out a little gentleness. I'm going to send out a little kindness. I'm going to send out a whole bunch of love, because I want my world to be filled with that kindness and that gentleness and that love. So as I find somebody who's different, as I find somebody who's acting differently than how I would act, I don't have the benefit of their experiences through their lifetime as to why they may have chosen that. But instead of sending out harshness to them, I can send out understanding. I can send out compassion. I can send out that love and that kindness, where I know that it's going to come back to me in that way.
Whoa. Gentleness is a boomerang.
Absolutely.
What comes around goes around.
Yes.
So I couldn't help it, folks. I had to come up with an acronym for Cosmic. Well, you started it, Tom. You just don't realize that you did. So, I had to allow that to flow. And here it is, folks. Cosmic. Yes, it means universal. However, creative, omnipresent, spiritual, mindfulness. Tom, you also used the word infinite, and indwelling. So I put infinite, indwelling, consciousness. So there's the macro and the micro. That is that which is within us. It mirrors that which is everywhere. Okay, so
that sounds like a workshop to me.
There you go.
That's beautiful.
Well, thank you for the inspiration. I look for acronyms everywhere. And so that's what this really does actually make sense for me. It's spirit is everywhere. It's omnipresent. It's creative. And when we're coming from a place of gentleness, we're being mindful for caring for one another. It's that infinite indwelling consciousness, the Christ consciousness that is all about love. So there you go. All right. Yeah. So we'll call it a workshop, maybe even a play shop. All right. So
I love that you put mindfulness in there.
Yeah. That's important to me. And it's important to everyone. Yeah. Many of us don't know how important it is. Because sometimes we have the busy mind that just like wants to do. And it takes time. Sometimes we just need to be still and allow for that mindfulness. And again, it's going to come out of being gentle in that moment, but not having to try to make anything happen, try to force anything. It's just a matter of being. And to continue on the thread of consciousness, of higher consciousness, I'm going to invite each one to participate in our affirmations. So, as we like to do, we invite each one to take a deep breath. And Tom, you want to start off the first one, or shall I?
I'll go ahead. If you would, just take a deep breath and exhale completely, and then say after me. It is so that the world is alive as love itself. Take another breath. And let's say that again. It is so
Yes.
that the world is alive as love itself.
Mm.
Mm.
Yes. Take a breath, everyone. Just feel that energy. Just take that breath in. It is so that I am open to using new thoughts to deal with old problems. Let's take a breath. It is so that I am open to using new thoughts to deal with old problems.
You take another breath. It is so that I use my grand rising consciousness today, all day and every day.
Mm.
Take another breath and let's say it again. It is so that I use my grand rising consciousness today, all day and every day. And so it is, and now it
And
is.
now it is. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Tom. Thank you, each and every one. You continue to put comments in there. I'm going to now invite you to join me as we go within for our prayer to support this conversation. And after which we will talk more about the power of prayer and allow people to get time to um, get ready to contribute. And so, right where I am, I know that the presence of the I am consciousness is within me and each and every one. This is the presence of the divine. Each one is divine individual. Each one knows that this idea, that this presence, this power is God. What we call God. Doesn't matter the name, the creator of all that is. And so I know that it comes from a place that is gentle, meaning it's supportive, it's loving, it's caring. It's a feeling of this divine oneness, this wholeness that is real. And I know that each and every one of us can practice this, gets to practice it. There are plenty of opportunities that come up for gentleness to rule the day. I know getting behind the wheel is another opportunity to be gentle with oneself, to bless their vehicle, to bless all other drivers and vehicles and roads, and just know that regardless of the appearance on the outside, that gentleness rules the day on the inside. I know this is true of our bank accounts, our financial situations. We are gentle and loving with ourselves. We are inviting even greater prosperity, greater abundance of all that is necessary for us to live powerful, gentle lives. And then again, gentle being able to assist others on the planet, individually, collectively, participating in ways. And I know that it is God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom, the queendom, for we must be able to have in order to do, in order to be of assistance to one another. So we are open to receive in a gentle way, in order to give in a gentle way. And I know that right and perfect relationships are the order of the day, that oh, how wonderful it is to know that gentleness makes such a big difference in our lives, personally, individually, collectively, in our community, in the world community. Trust in the gentleness. And this goes out to all leaders. Trust in the gentleness. Trust that housing is available for all, that food is available for all. There's no reason to hold back. Allow for the gentleness to rule. I give thanks for knowing that that happens from within each and every one of us on that personal level. Seeing, believing, knowing, living from the place of gentleness. I give thanks for knowing that this is the truth. It shows up even now, even before we get to open our eyes from the prayer, even as we go throughout our day, opportunities to be gentle with ourselves, regardless of the situation, regardless of the appearance. Gentleness speaks for itself in a very powerful way. And so I allow this word to go forth, to multiply. This word spoken into law of divine right action knows how to get it done. So I let it be. I let it go. I let it be. I let it do what it do. Here, now, always. Every now moment. I let it be. And I give thanks for that. And in letting it be and giving thanks, I simply affirm it by knowing it is true, knowing it is done by saying, and so it is, and now it is. Thank you so much. That is the power of prayer. Know that it is already making a difference. It is already touching lives, whether they're watching this or not, they're getting the vibration. And we are prayer professionals. We are here, myself and Tom and practitioners and ministers. Ministers are practitioners also. We don't give it up just to be ministers. Okay. And so not only that, you can make a prayer. We have opportunity to give. We have an opportunity to receive. We have an opportunity to gently be embraced by the all goodness of the divine. And if you have, we want to thank you for your giving. We want to thank you for your contributions throughout the years or however long you've been contributing. We give thanks. And just know that, we encourage you to continue to give. We have an affirmation of abundance that we'd like to recite with you. And it goes like this. And, we have Ellen, our practitioner, who reminds us to put our hand over our heart. And I say, yeah, feel that vibration, that heartbeat. And, that's the life of not just your life, it's the life of the universe. There's beating, that's the shared beating in your heart with your breath. And you feel that magnified, that vibration. And we invite it, to flow, the circulation of it. So we have this affirmation of abundance that even magnifies it more. And we say that money, as one of the many gifts of spirit, is good. And as I share my offerings, I know that I am actively creating a space to receive more gift, more money, and more good. And I am grateful for the ability to give and for the good work these gifts do in our center and in our world. And now it is. And please know that you can give your donations by PayPal. Go to our website, onelovecenter.org, or you can use the Cash Me app, $OneLoveCSL. And please know that there is no amount that is too small or too large. We're not going to turn it down because you want to give $1 million. I mean, thank you very much. And if there's anything that you feel is less than that, feel free to share that as well. And we know we don't give a share because we know that as we do, more is going to come. More is going to come anyway. So we just give from that place of knowing that we're doing our best in the world by our giving. All right. So we do have a few announcements I want to bring up before we get to our closing remarks. You're invited to People of African Descent and New Thought Group, Celebrating Our Soul Conference, number 2. We do this every other year, called Consciously Creating Change, August 1st to the 4th, 2024. at Unity Village. If you've never been to Unity Village, it's an awesome place to go. We're so grateful that Unity opens its doors to this organization. Um, and also, all are welcome to that conference. Move into living beyond your limits. Um, Move on to living beyond your limiting belief by registering for our first 2024 class, Beyond Limits. You can check out our website, onelovecenter.org/events for more information. And let us know if you would like to take that class. So we know. And we're also requesting a member or friend or friend of a member or somebody that you know for technical assistance in managing our broadcast. We have Lita Perez behind the scenes doing a wonderful job, keeping us on point. And so, she didn't get to do it alone. Please contact us. Hit our website, our email, onelovecenter.org, or you can call 844-295-5155 to be of service. Bless you and thank you. And it's just, it's just a wonderful opportunity to be of service. All right. So, any closing remarks? Anything else that you feel like everybody else needs to know?
Ooh, something everybody else needs to know. Wow, that's pretty broad. I think the important thing we all need to know, the story of the starfish thrower comes back to me. And as you're kind, as you're gentle to one other person, you make a difference in their life. It's like throwing those starfish. You can't make a difference in every single person's life, but I can make a difference into each one each time.
Ooh, I love that. Thank you. And we're going to take that into prayer for each and every one. And each one reach one. Yes. And so knowing there's only one, and that ones of the ones that we are, I know that as each one reaches and teaches and educates one in the ways of gentleness and kindness and love and appreciation and gratitude and forgiveness, understanding all of the wonderful attributes of the divine. Oh, that just do it with one, and that includes ourselves. And as we treat ourselves this way, it can't help but spill over and touch another and another and another and another. And I turn my word over to Tom.
And I'm grateful for knowing the real truth. The world tells me that as I look in the mirror, I'm just one person and I can't do much. I'm not that significant. But I know that Spirit looks at me and says, oh, yes, you are. You are a unique, individualized expression of the divine. You're powerful and you can change lives. So go forth and take that love into the world. And I know that's true. I know that I can do my part every day by being gentle and kind to another person, and then another, and then another. And I'm grateful for that knowing. I'm grateful for this word and the fulfillment of this word, for I know it's already fulfilled in the divine mind. I release this word into the law that I know is absolutely certain and absolutely worthy of my complete trust. I knew that the universe always answers yes. And I know that this word is perfect. I know that it's good and very good. I know that it's true. And I know that the Creator Spirit that created me out of the very substance of itself is embracing me and enclosing me in a cocoon of unconditional love. I affirm this as I join with the universe and invite you to join with the universe and me in affirming it by saying together, and so it is, and now it is.
And now it is. Whew. Lordy, 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 power of the law. Yes, thank you, Tom.